event. Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
On the eve of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian People, Radio Algeria International has organized a debate on the holding of the conference here in Algeria of the prosecution of the Zionist entity before the ICC. The humanitarian truce enforced in Gaza has been extended by 48 hours, allowing for a new exchange of prisoners and for the delivery of more aid. And a delegation of the Algerian National Committee of Solidarity with the Sahrawi People will take part in the 47th European Coordination Conference of Support and Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, due to open on December 1st in Toledo, Spain. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First, the Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General Sergeant Griha, participated today in the proceedings of the extraordinary session of the Council of Chiefs of Staff of the member countries of the Joint Operational Staff Committee. A statement by the Ministry of National Defense stated that General Shengriha expressed his thanks to his counterparts, heads of participating delegations, for accepting the invitation, and highlighted the great interest that the President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, attaches to this session and the work of the committee. The mediator of the Republic, Majid Amour, has received here in Algeria the UN Special Rapporteur on the situation of human rights defenders, Marie Lawlor, now on an official visit to Algeria. She also met with the head of the National Human Rights Council, Abdelmajid Zalani. During the meeting, the UN Rapporteur explained the nature of her mandate aimed at backing the action of the human rights defenders. She stressed that her mandate was designed to back the state's fulfillment of their commitments related to the protection of human rights defenders. The UN rapporteur was earlier received by the head of the National Observatory of the Civil Society, Nourdin Ben Brahim. The meeting focused on how to reinforce cooperation between the rapporteur's services and the observatory. The UN rapporteur was later on received by the Communication Minister, Mohamed Lagab. The humanitarian truce enforced in Gaza has been extended by 48 hours, allowing for a new exchange of prisoners and for the delivery of more aid. Mariam Bershi has more details.
The extension of the 4-day truce was announced by Qatar and the United States, which acts as the mediators in the negotiations aimed at making the truce last longer. Under the truce due to expire on Thursday, 60 Palestinian prisoners should be released today. The news agency Wafa indicated that a fourth group of 33 Palestinians, including 3 women and 30 children, detained in Israeli jails, were released overnight. They should also allow the entry of new lorries laden with aid to the Palestinian enclave. In this respect, the UN Special Coordination for the Middle East, Tor Wennesland, said the situation in Gaza was disastrous and required the entry of further aid in a continuous and predictable manner to ease the sufferings of the Palestinians in Gaza. According to the UNRWA, it is necessary that 200 lorries enter the territory each day to meet unprecedented needs for the population during 2 months. The extension of the truce was hailed by the US President Joe Biden, who hoped the cessation of the hostilities could be further extended, while the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres hailed it as a ray of hope in the middle of the darkness of war. This came as the UN Secretary Council will be meeting tomorrow, Wednesday, to examine the latest developments in the Palestinian territories.
And the humanitarian situation in Gaza continued to deteriorate despite the funneling of urgent humanitarian aid. Mariam Bershi again.
The Norwegian Refugee Council is one of the many humanitarian organizations that have said that the humanitarian post must pave the way for a lasting ceasefire. The English service of Radio Algeria International has contacted in Amman the media advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council in the Middle East, Mr. Ahmed Bayram, who spoke about the living conditions of the Palestinian refugees amid all the chaos.
The living conditions of the Palestinians displaced in this conflict have been appalling. I mean, first of all, these people have been displaced multiple times. Don't forget they are first or second generation refugees. Now they are reliving the painful experience of what happened all these years back. A lot of them speak vividly about the areas that used to be and no more like Jabalia camp, for example, in the north, which has been, complete neighborhoods, entire neighborhoods have been flattened. These people have been displaced again. There is no hope of them going back to their home anytime soon because of the nature of the destruction.
Mr. Bayram also spoke about the importance of a ceasefire for the delivery of aid by humanitarian organizations.
The only way to ease the suffering is, as a first step, to agree to a complete ceasefire, for Israel to lift the siege on Gaza, for Israel to stop attacking civilian infrastructure, civilian homes, civilian facilities, and for Israel to commit to giving Palestinians the right to live peacefully in Gaza, to release all hostages, to provide unfettered access to aid organizations so they can do their job and provide all life-saving support that they have been providing.
According to Mr. Bayram, the end of the Israeli occupation and the lifting of the siege are the main conditions for a settlement of the conflict.
And finally, we think that there are root causes that are causing violation and the continuous suffering of Palestinians. As a humanitarian organization that works to also defend the legal rights of Palestinians, we have been saying and we have been vocal about the fact that occupation has driven a lot of this suffering. The siege on Gaza, which has lasted 16 years now, the expansion of settlements in the West Bank, the unprecedented levels of violence by settlers against Palestinians in the West Bank, the attacks on their homes, the attacks on their property, not to mention, of course, the level of destruction and deadly attacks on Gaza. So in short, Palestinian rights are not being respected by Israel in a lot of areas, and we think that Israel has a duty as an occupier to provide protection, to provide dignified means of life, instead of encouraging settlers in so many instances to attack Palestinians and obviously attacking civilian infrastructure in Gaza. So we continue to call for the occupation to end and for Palestinians to live in dignity so they can recover and prosper.
That was the media advisor for the Norwegian Refugee Council in the Middle East, Mr. Ahmed Bayram.
Shifting now to the Western Sahara file, where a delegation of the Algerian National Committee of Solidarity with the Sahrawi People will take part in the 47th European Coordination Conference of Support and Solidarity with the Sahrawi People, due to open on December 1st in Toledo, Spain. The delegation will be led by the head of the committee, Saeed Ayashi. The two-day conference will center on the latest developments of the conflict and on the progress achieved as part of the objectives set by the 46th European Coordination Conference. The program of action for 2024 will be discussed during the annual meeting. And finally, on the eve of the International Day of Solidarity with the Palestinian People and on the occasion of the holding of the conference on the prosecution of the Zionist entity before the International Criminal Court under the theme Justice for the Palestinian People, Radio Algeria International organized today a debate on this, or to shed light on this important conference attended by judges and lawyers from Algeria and several Arab and foreign countries. On the occasion, we had the chance to speak to Judge Mohammed El Tarauni about the conference, and this will be followed by a special program devoted to the International Day for the Elimination of Violence Against Women and Girls. So stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin in English. Thank you and goodbye. Good morning, Judge Mohammed Tarauna from Jordan. My first question for you is there are many efforts made by some countries, notably Algeria and Jordan, to bring the General Assembly to declare that what is happening in Gaza is tantamount to war crimes. What could you say about it?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you because you give me a chance to talk about this issue. And from you, I want to thank Algeria as a state, as a people, because Algeria, it's the first country in Arab world who start in these efforts about what happened in Gaza and against our people, Palestinian people in Gaza and in Palestine also. Do you know there is a lot of efforts in Jordan and Palestine and Cairo, also in NGOs organization and bar association for lawyers and for the judges in many countries. But on the official level, I think the achievement about Algeria, it's a first step to collective and to make a kind of cooperation between these efforts in the legal issue to continue our efforts. How can we send Israel to the International Criminal Court for crime wars or indigenous or what's happened in the case. And also there is the president of Algeria, His Excellency Abdelmajid Tebboune. He is the first president in the Arab world who announced to all the world what happened in Gaza. It's against humanity, it's against humanitarian law. I think Algeria, because Algeria, we learn about the experience from Algeria in the past century, what happened with France, because Algeria, I think it's a school, and like a school in this issue. We looking for the role of Algeria in the future to push our efforts to from the United Nations or the International Criminal Court, because it's a big country and it's a country the world respect her. And also I think Algeria, it's stop with the Palestinian people, not only in this crisis, for a long time.
So my second question is, how could you, as a group of lawyers, convince the general prosecutor of the ICC about the legitimacy of the complaint that you are going to lodge and compel him to proceed with bringing Israel and its allies before justice?
Thank you for this question, because this question, it's the major issue about our meeting. Now we make a kind of legal file, not in political issue, in legal, for evidence, for the witness, for what happened from the media. And after we reach to finalizing this file, we try to send it to the prosecutor about the International Criminal Court. But the first step, we need a state like Algeria to push this file to International Criminal Court. Tomorrow we have 3 workshops. The first workshop, it's about how we prepare the evidence, the strong evidence, to send it to the International Criminal Court. And also there's another expert, not only from Arab world, from Europe. They came to our meeting to help us about what happened in the past, about how can we make the evidence, especially what happened against the civilian, the woman, the journalist, the hospital, and because this accident is a strong evidence to, if you want to make a file to send it or as a client to the International Criminal Court.
Exactly. So Israel is not a signatory member of the ICC. So how can the ICC or the court actually prosecute it? All the more so that we know that Mr. Gilles Devers said that even if Israel is not a member of the ICC, so this cannot render the ICC ineffective.
Okay, I think it's not the reason, it's not a real reason to, you cannot to send Israel, because, for example, Sudan also is not a member in the International Criminal Court. And some country in Africa. There is many mechanisms you can send Israel to International Criminal Court, even Israel is not a party in the General Assembly about International Criminal Court. How? by the universal judgment, yes, declaration for many treatment like human rights. Do you know the for Geneva treatment because the convention, because Israel it's a party in Geneva Convention, and the war crime which mentioned in the State of Rome also it's in Geneva. And also maybe you can from a country a party in the International Criminal Court, as I mentioned before, for example, look like Jordan. Because you know there's many of people as refugees, Palestine refugees in Jordan. Every Palestinian, he can go to the national court in Jordan as a party in State of Rome to make evidence or complain to send Israel to International Criminal Court. And also there's another issue, maybe there's a double measure from United States because the United States support Israel about this issue. For this reason, we make this meeting here in Algeria to focus on the legal issue, not political issue, and also maybe we make a kind of a small committee to follow up what the conclusion about this meeting in the future. And also there is another meeting maybe in Cairo or in Jordan to follow up our recommendation what happened in Algeria.
Yeah, exactly. My last question for you is you spoke earlier about the creation of a committee that is going to be in charge of following up on the outcomes of the initiative that you have launched. So what are the prerogatives of this committee?
Maybe the outcome about the meeting, I cannot tell you everything now. I think after the workshop, we have 2 workshops, and on Thursday we have a kind of national meeting to conclusion. What's the next step to follow up this recommendation?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.